Hey, I think we're ready to launch this episode. This is going to be an absolutely crazy episode of the GRD Pod episode, breaking down the Eastern Conference Finals preview between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. And we have, as always, Jake, Reid, Kyle, and Corey. I'm hosting tonight. I'm probably going to fuck a couple things up, but that's okay. Um, I just want to open up by saying, like, we dropped some crazy merch. All you got to do is head to bostonsbig3.com. Link is in my bio and grab some merch. Make me rich. I'm trying to buy a lot of green gum and shit. So buy a lot of shirts. Let's get it. Um, yeah, I think we're gonna jump straight. Oh, you got the green gum on deck, Nick? I appreciate
I already
that.
got it.
You
You already
already,
know.
dude.
You
So
already know.
is
We're
that
already
your
prepped for the
prediction right
conference
there?
finals.
Is that
What's
your
up?
prediction right there? Celtics in 5. You only have 5 packs of gum right
It
there.
might be. I don't know. We're gonna have to save
You
it for a
got
little
five
later.
packs of gum and it's 5 gum. I think he's saying
I
Celtics in
think it's
5.
Celtics on 5 right here.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
I think Kyle Baxter dressed up like he's about to say Heat in 4 or something. He looks like he needs a Cuban cigar and he'll be ready to go down to South Beach.
Looks like Brad Stevens.
Mike Felger.
Stevens of the pod.
Vulgar.
In the rafters already. Anyways, before we jump into the Miami Boston series, because we have a lot to say, and I know you guys' opinions might blow people's minds, and mine might even shock a couple people too. But let's give each other 60 seconds on the clock, and I want you guys to wrap up Game 7 of the Toronto series and what it was to you guys. And I'm gonna let you go first, Jake. Ready, set, go.
Yeah, so this is like Toronto Raptors Celtics series. It's a great series. I mean, I think everyone kind of thought it was going to be a good series, but I don't think we understood how good it was. So like we said, 7-game series. It was going to be a bar fight. All series long. Celtics came ready to play. The first 2 games kind of fell off midway through, but they bounced back towards the end. They had that good Game 5 win. Game 6 was a little iffy, but Game 7 I was really impressed with. Marcus Smart played really well. I mean, he had that crazy crucial block in was it like the final minutes of Game 7, that's going to be a play. Like that's going to be the Game 7 when you go back and you look at the Celtics run when they win the championship. Like you're going to go back and look at Game 7 and be like, this was the game that I knew they were going to win, and that Marcus Smart block's going to go up there. Like, don't be surprised if in a couple years that clip's being played with Paul Pierce diving for the ball next to LeBron James. Like it was that kind of play, like such pivotal moment, and it was such a good play by Marcus Smart.
And that was only 50 seconds, but I'll give it to you.
I thought it was 60. My bad.
Anyways, Reid, you're on the clock with 60 seconds, and I really want to know your opinions on the Toronto Boston Game 7. Ready, set, go.
So it was one of the more fun series I've ever had watching. That being said, I don't want to ever watch it again. I want to put myself through that again because you can see how crazy, how fluid the NBA is on a split of a dime. With 5.5 seconds left, how that can turn into a 7-game series. I will go off the Marcus Smart block. I do think with how the Celtics, the rest of their postseason run goes, it can cement his place in the Celtics history books for how crucial that really was. But I'm going to get a little more specific into the series. Like the last 2 games, Game 6 and 7, you saw Kemba Walker struggle. And people are worried about that heading into the Miami series. I don't see what the real concern is. Like that defense that Toronto threw at them was designed to neutralize him. And I'm getting 3, 2, 1. I do not care. Wait. You know what? I'll save it for
All right,
later.
Reid, what do you got?
No, Kyle, you keep going. I got cut off. I lost my train of thought now.
Let's go,
The
Kyle.
buzzer.
All right. Well, I hate that it had to go to 7. We obviously had the OG game winner, which should have put us up 3-0. And then Game 6, say what you want about the refs, but it kind of sucked that it went to 7. I thought my original prediction was Celtics in 6, but along with that Marcus Smart block, another thing people are sleeping on is that Tatum rebound after Grant Williams misses those 2 free throws. I mean, he was a rookie, so you can say maybe he shouldn't have been in that position, but that was really clutch because that put us up 5. That makes it a 2-possession game. But to give him credit, on the other end, Grant Williams did have that clutch block at the end to make sure that they didn't tie the game up. So it was definitely an anxious series, but I feel like I'm more invested in this team than I have been with any other team. So I think that if this is the year that we go all the way, then this is going to be like a really memorable championship for me.
That was like a buzzer beater right there. You like rolled that one in there right in 60 seconds. You probably practiced that one in the mirror before the show.
Yeah, with
All right.
Flashcards.
All right, so I'm going to set the timer on myself, and I'm not going to look at it, but I'm just going to listen for when it goes off. I don't even... All right, we're good. Hey, so that Toronto Game 7 for me, you guys dug deep into the series, and after the OG and OB buzzer beater, that broke our hearts. We knew we were losing Game 4 after that. We all said it. And just in general, I thought this series was a disgusting series by the NBA. And it was so clear that they wanted this series to go 7 games. It just bothered me to the sense of like there was so much money involved in this. Like it was apparent it was going 7 before it started, in my opinion. Like the two teams never faced each other in the playoffs, whatever. And just those whistles in Game 7 made me like want to turn my TV off. Like such a competitive, crazy game. Game 6 will go down like as like one of the best playoff games ever, but we were on the losing end, so I want to forget about it already. Anyways, Game 7 was crazy. We're on to Miami.
Locked in at 58 seconds.
We ain't worried. All right, so let's jump straight into this. Like, this is gonna be a crazy breakdown. Like, first and foremost, like, I don't count that seeding game that we played against Miami. Other than that, like, we have not played against this Miami team in a competitive game, and I'm nervous about that. And let's jump right in. Like, let's make our predictions based on what we know about these guys that are playing, and let's shoot. Who wants to lead us off right here?
I'll start, I guess. We're doing the timer thing, or can I just speak?
Nah, you got the free floor, but this is gonna be our longest segment of the night. Like you could throw all your punches right here, and then right after this, we're gonna like all cut away and then do the next segment with our predictions for it.
Perfect. So I'm expecting a very different series from what we saw with Toronto, both their play styles and what our attack's gonna look like. First of all, I'll start the Miami bench. Like I think they got the teams from top to bottom. They got a well-rounded team. They'll hurt you from anywhere on the floor: shooting, rebounding, passing, defense. They got I will go back to that. I will go back to that. I saw that face. They have that, like I said, the combination of like youth talent and veterans and championship contenders. You got like rookies. Tyler Hero. 1 second. I'm sorry. Roommate's always knock at the door. My fault.
Yeah, that's it. Dude, don't you know I'm fucking filming a podcast? Yo, I'm gonna jump on Instagram.
Sorry. My God, that was annoying.
Dude, while you're talking, I'm jumping on Instagram Live too.
Okay, perfect. So as I was saying, they had that combination of like veteran talent, young stars and young rookies. You got like led by Jimmy Butler, who's really making a name for himself as a franchise superstar. He wasn't really taken seriously by many coming into this, but he's really making himself a household name. You got young stars and Bam Adebayo, who's really also like blossoming into that like franchise young star for them. Andre Iguodala off the bench, like he's got that veteran presence. I see that. Thanks a lot, GRD. Shout out to his live stream. And you got the young guys who will hurt them. Like they matured so much during this bubble. And Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn. I'm nervous about this. I don't know what to expect. That's what all it was. Like I knew what to expect with Toronto. I don't know what to expect with Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody really knows what to expect with Miami. That's why we're here breaking it down. And we're live on the GRD pod, and we're also on Instagram Live. We got questions, comments, concerns coming in on Instagram Live. People are nervous about Miami. But I'm just going to say this. I'm not fucking nervous right now. And it's not even my turn to talk, but I'm just going to break it down like this. The Miami Heat, this little break that they had, it might cost him. It really might cost him. And I think that it gave time for Jimmy Butler's shoulder to heal up. Andre Iguodala is nursing a little knee injury, but I really think that this little break has broken them up. And I'm gonna say this right now: the Boston Celtics are absolutely gonna expose Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and you could even add Goran and freaking Kelly Olynyk to that. On defense, those guys are liabilities. And versus Toronto, they didn't really have any liabilities besides Marc Gasol. We had Marc Gasol. He was like wearing cement in the freaking paint. He couldn't do shit against us. But those four guys that I just mentioned, I really feel like the Celtics are gonna toy with those guys. And those guys are good when their shots are falling and everything. Kelly Olynyk had a crazy series against the Bucks. Like, he kills the Celtics every time he's played them since we got rid of him. But I really think right there is like gonna be the big advantage for the Boston Celtics. Like, we went to the end of the road with Toronto. That might have been a better series for the Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion. Anyways, Jake, throw some knowledge at us, because my takes are, I'm a fan. I'm like wrapped up in the green goggles. Show some real insight for us, though.
Yeah, so we went 2-1 against this team. We beat them twice in the regular season and then once in that restart. I mean, like you said, kind of hard.
You got to throw them out, kind of, right?
Yeah, you kind of do, because it's a whole different thing. But I do want to touch on one thing in that third game in the bubble. Bam Adebayo completely ate us up. Like, he was very dominant, and I think that that's something that you got to look at and be like you got to kind of control him. I mean, Butler's going to do his thing. Obviously, Butler didn't play in that game. But Adebayo, you got to control, because he can eat up on the Celtics big man.
Jake, I apologize. In my notes, bro, I have this is actually contradicting everything I ever say, but I wrote, I'm more worried about Bam and Goran than Jimmy. I really am, bro. Like, Jimmy's going to get his, but he really never kills the Celtics. He never really kills the Celtics. So I really am more worried about Bam and Goran this series. But keep going. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy will definitely do his thing. I mean, I'm just looking right here at the stats from those other meetings, and Butler put up 37 in a loss in the first time they met. I mean, so he'll definitely do his thing. I mean, whether he'll get 37 in, I mean, who knows? Probably not, but he'll definitely do his thing. Like you said, he is nursing an injury. One of the funny, I guess you could say, stats I found was Enes Kanter actually leads the Celtics in rebounds against the Miami Heat team. So that makes me curious to see, will Enes Kanter make his way back into the rotation, because you didn't see him at all in that Toronto series. I mean, he played very, very limited minutes, and I think towards the end of it, I don't even think he played a single minute in some of those games. So if he could come back and he could be dominant, that would be cool to see. But my real big thing is that if Adebayo starts to eat up on Tice again, can we please put Rob Williams in and don't play Tice like that? I love Tice. I'm here to defend him. I like the guy. He's a good player. But, man, I need to see, hardcore post basketball between Rob Williams and Adebayo, because Adebayo is an all-star. You can say, oh, he's just an all-star, he's not that special, but this dude is an all-star, and he's legit. He has the minutes. He ate us up last night. We need to make sure we limit him. All those other players, they're great role players. The Kelly Olynyk, Jay Crowders, Iggy, those are good players, but I'm not really worried about those guys. I think Iggy will have that one game where you're just like, wow, what happened? But then also too, you got to remember Butler and Adebayo. Those are the two guys you really got to look out for.
Let's end it, Kyle.
Okay. This Miami Heat team, I think they're definitely good. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem in this series. I really stopped sleeping on Jimmy Butler, though, when he beat the starters with the practice squad, and that kind of made me be like, oh, shit, this guy can kind of carry a team.
That was in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
It was.
So that's when I started realizing, oh, shit, maybe he can lead a team. But kind of going back,
I will always chirp in on that. He's a second-round pick, bro. That's why I like Jimmy Butler. I started not to like him after he was talking shit about Marcus Smart, like that video I posted today. Yeah. That's when I first stopped to like Jimmy Butler, but sorry to interrupt you, Kinga.
Well, you actually, I'm not to cut you off again, but Corey, you kind of recruiting in the Boston a little bit. You were kind of part of his little recruitment thing back in the day. I remember seeing that. Said, "Oh, Jimmy's gonna look good in green next summer," and he kind of had that. He had that smile on his face.
I watched.
You OGs remember that video.
I watched that video today because today was his birthday. He honestly, he was definitely in my top 5 favorite players, like not in Green. I really did like Jimmy Butler. After he went to Minnesota and then Philly, like I stopped kind of liking him. I don't know. I don't hate him, but maybe after this series I might.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right,
to go
wrap
back
it up.
to it, I think a big reason that the Celtics beat the Raptors was because they had Gasol at center. So I mean, he's anything really special. So going with that, this series playing an all-star caliber center and Bam, I don't think Tice should be focusing on playing as much. I think you should play the younger, more athletic Rob Williams, and even throw Enos in there, because I think if Enos isn't getting much playing time at this point in the playoffs, I don't think he comes back. I think he opts out. And then my X factor for this series is going to be if he comes back and when he comes back, Gordon Hayward, because everyone remembers a couple years ago, Jay Crowder was a part of that famous injury that injured Gordon Hayward. So with this series and having Jay Crowder on this team, look for Gordon to try and get his.
Yo, that's actually a really good point right there. That's something I forgot.
Yeah. They still know, like, I'm looking at the Celtics tweet right now from 6 hours ago. I guess today Hayward went through a small group practice, workout at practice. I mean, he, quote, looked good. That's what Steven said, but he's still not sure about a return date. That's what I mean. Like, you really don't know when it'll become available. You'll assume it's going to be in the later parts of the series or whenever that is. But he is definitely going to be that X factor, like you said.
If my math does serve me correct, like we were doing this podcast right after Hayward went down versus Philly, and our math was that he would be ready by September 18th, which is this coming Friday, which it's actually crazy because that is like a ballpark. Like that would be game 2 is Thursday. He could possibly play on Saturday, the 19th, possibly. But even if you want to stretch it farther than that, game 4, we might have Hayward.
Yeah. And, like, you really, like we said, like, coming into the entire playoffs, like, also, like, Milwaukee and Toronto were, like, the 2 favorites to probably meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. And that was also the, like, time period when Hayward might be expecting his 4th child. So, like, now, but the Celtics are here now, and they have a real shot to play against a 5 seed, a team that looks like the best 5 seed I've ever seen personally.
I feel like this year, though, is such a unique year. Like, seeding is so thrown out the window, too. Like, yeah, we're here to talk about, like, the talent on the basketball court, but you got to think about all elements. Like, this year is just a crazy year. Like,
yeah.
We did not have to go to Philadelphia. We did not have to go to Toronto. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
and I also said, like, I think 2 shows ago, it was like this league's, like, back to that level of balance that there hasn't been in years. Like, I think Miami belongs in that tier. And a lot of people don't know that. But
100%. But like, isn't it crazy, like, how, yeah, there are so many competitive teams, but there are also so many teams that'll never be competitive. I feel like it bothers me a little bit. Like, how come they can't, like, get competent owners and, like, I don't know.
It's how bad teams stay bad. But yeah, like, first of all, we're in no position to, like, make assumptions like these. But, like, let's say Boston's get, like, an early lead in the series, and, like, Hayward's set to return, but, you know, it's like his wife goes into labor. Let's say, like, is there a real chance that he goes back? Do you think? Just spitballing.
He's 100% gonna leave for his
I think
birth of his son.
Thing. You can't get upset about that. Like,
no, and, like, if anybody does, like, they're gonna get fucking flamed on the internet anyways. Like, if I might just fucking do it just to be funny and just say, what the fuck, Gordon, you're really going for your childbirth? Bro, none of us on this podcast have kids. None of us know what that's like. Like, we really have no opinion on that. And even if you do have kids, you still have no opinion on it because that's not your kid, you know? So, like, it's just kind of like uncharted territory. And, like, you could say, like, this guy has never been this deep into the playoffs, whatever, but, like, he's never had a son before.
Yeah.
Boom.
Well, it's like we've made it this far without him. Like, it's not like we're going to be seeing anything that we haven't had. So.
Yo, and that's, like, the scariest part about the whole situation is, like, there are talks, like, first things first, if you had Boston getting past Toronto, like, without Gordon, like, that's kind of a ballsy situation. The Celtics were underdogs in that series, and we're all Boston homers. So, yeah, we have Boston. But, like, all the analysts that didn't have Boston, like, you can't shit on them. Like, Boston was going into that series without one of their max players. Like, it's very, like, before the series started, like, it's very possible that Toronto made light work of us. They're the former champions. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Jalen and Jason have fight in them. Those motherfuckers are the next superstars in this league. And they put the league on notice right there. And Tatum didn't even play his best in that series. Kemba Walker didn't even play his best in that series. If Miami gets a better Kemba Walker and a better Tatum, they might be going back to South Beach a little early, bro. And let's actually jump right into that. And
Actually, real quick though, before we move on, I want to talk about the Gordon Hayward situation because I can't find the post. I've been looking for that post, so I haven't been chiming in. But I saw a post and I heard people talk about that. There was a post, I think it was from Robin, and she said that the next time we see you, you won't be the only boy, or like the only guy in the house. And I saw that post and I'm like, okay, this could go either one or two ways. Maybe he doesn't miss it. I mean, it's just speculation. I don't know where the post is. She must have deleted it because I know I saw it. But I look at that, I'm like, maybe he does miss it, which is a whole different thing because, like we said, like he can come back on the 18th and he can play basketball, right? But then he has to go back and then he has to go through the whole quarantine thing. So now you're not looking until midway through the.
I think you're making this bigger than it is. Like, he's 100% leaving already.
No, I think he is leaving, but I'm just saying too that's just a little.
At the end of September, so if you like add the math in, that would probably be like in the finals. Like I'm just gonna say this: we should start thinking about an NBA Finals without Gordon Hayward. Probably, he might be able to play one or two games like at the tail or at the beginning of it. But bro,
maybe he wants to win that championship with Brad by his side though, like he didn't get to do at Butler.
Okay, so Jake, I apologize for like putting it 100% down, but I'm also only going on what has been said, and what has been said is like they 100% said he is going to be there for the birth. But I'm gonna go out and say this: I feel like the NBA might do something, like, because this is such a freak event. Like, they should let this guy bypass quarantine. The fucking pandemic is. I'm not gonna go out and say it's over, but it's kind of in the rear view in this situation. Like, I don't know, maybe like get this guy tested fucking 40 times a day if you have to. But I feel like he should like eclipse the freaking quarantine on the way back so he's able to come back right into action, in my opinion. But like I said, we still got to get through Miami. And as I wrap that up, I'm going to give you guys 60 seconds on shoot on whatever you want to say about it, and then give me a quick prediction. You could give the prediction after the clock, though, because that might take a couple seconds, too. So wrap it up. Just rapid fire on, like, a couple do's, don'ts, whatever you have to say about this series. And then after that, give the prediction and the games, and let's get it. Did they give MVP awards for the Eastern Conference Finals? They should.
No. They don't.
No.
God, do you want to start since me and Jake already started?
In baseball, do they?
Yeah, I do.
I feel like in baseball, they.
Yeah.
With the Celtics,
Don't start yet. You have a minute to think about what you're gonna say, bro.
A minute?
I just wanted to start the clock, though.
It's like it's kind of like before you take the test or in school, you just sit there and you just cram study real quick, and then you go.
Yep. All right, ready for it? Let's go. Boom.
All right, so the Celtics last series, it was a very defensive focused series with the Raptors. I think this series kind of focused more on offense. A couple really low scoring games like that last, the Game 7 only scored 92 points. Game 6, not 6. The earlier games only scored 93. Focus a little more on scoring for this series. I still have the Celtics coming out of it. I think I got a term from GRD. We say, beat the heat, beat my meat, we finna eat, Celtics in 6.
I like that.
I'll go next. I'm going to kind of bounce off that a little bit. I think, like what you said about the defense in last year's was right. When our shooting was cold against Toronto, like our defense kept us in the game and kept it competitive, even though we did drop 3 of them. That's gonna be different against against Miami. Sorry, Miami's got a lot more shooters on the outside and a lot more offensive attacks, I feel. So they can heat up when they heat up really quickly, and our offense can't match on the other end. It's gonna get us in trouble. So our defense needs to be there yet again, as well as the offense. But that level of defense that we saw in last round was elite, and it's championship contender worthy. So it's got to be that extra gear that they kick it into. Miami's a very cohesive unit. They got a lot of team chemistry. They're very well coached in Eric Spoelstra. So that's what does worry me, is that they got so many ways of hurting you from top to bottom with their coaching and their play style. So I do have Celtics in 6, though. I do not want to see another Game 7 for the life of me. That was too much to bear. But I got Celtics in 6 and moved on to the finals.
Let's go, Jake.
Yeah, so we got to limit Bam and Jimmy and Goran. Those 3 guys right there, that's kind of like the Heat's, like you could say big 3. Limit them because those are the guys that are really going to be, kill you on the offensive end and defensive end. A lot of those guys are good on both ends. But I think the biggest thing that people don't talk about enough is that I feel like every time something doesn't go the Celtics' way, they always look to the refs and they start yelling and complaining to them. Every time I see Tatum drive to the basket and he doesn't go in and he thinks he gets fouled, he throws his hands up and looks to the refs as he's in transition. You cannot do that in this series because you have a dog on the other side. The whole team is full of dogs, but in like Iggy, Jimmy Butler, those 2 guys are dogs and they will eat that up. Not to mention Jay Crowder too. They'll eat that up and turn it around you so quick. They'll spin it on you. That's the one I look at. I'm like, you cannot do that. Don't let it get in your head. Play your game. You don't get a call. You're running back and on the defensive end. Just play your game and just focus and do your job, and you'll be fine. I think the Celtics will wrap this in 6. I don't see this going past 6, and honestly, could see it in 5. But I'm gonna go final prediction right here: Celtics in 6.
That sounds good. I mean, shit. This series is going to be very difficult. And more than difficult, this series, it's difficult to analyze this series. And I've been going back and forth, and I watched so many fucking games and so many highlight tapes on this series. I watched in 2016, Kemba Walker faced the Miami Heat. And I'm going to tell you this, Kemba Walker lit up the Heat in that series, and he got his. And I think that he's going to be the key to this series. Kemba Walker is making max money, and that motherfucker, he was not playing max basketball last series, in my opinion. Like, Kyle Lowry, he shut him down, which Kyle Lowry is one of the best defenders at that position, so I will give him that. But at the same time, Kemba needs to eat this series, and that's going to be our key. Him and Tatum, offensively, they need to go off every game. And I think they will. They're going to expose, like I said, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. We got to take advantage when Bam is on the bench and Kelly Olynyk's in there. And you got to stay out of foul trouble. I'm looking at Tice. I'm looking at Jalen and Smart. All of those 3 guys, stay out of foul trouble. And this series is ours in 5. I got Boston Celtics in 5. And I'm really not afraid of Miami Heat. I hate Andre Iguodala. I think that guy's a scumbag for what he did to Memphis Grizzlies. And I honestly think the Memphis Grizzlies, if the Heat do hurt us in this series, it's their fucking fault. Because if it wasn't for them, these 2 idiots wouldn't even be on the Heat, Andre Iguodala and Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder turned into, the second freaking form of himself and, turned into a crazy lights-out shooter now. That I feel like that's going to kill me, watching him and Kelly Olynyk kill us. But I really still confidently say this, and we could go back to this later. Boston Celtics in 5 games.
Yeah, I'm scared of Eastern Conference Final, Kelly Olynyk. I don't want to see that. That's why I don't want to see a Game 7.
Good thing he didn't do anything in the Eastern Conference Finals. That was in the semi-conference finals versus Washington, Game 7, and I'll never forget that game.
You're right.
But I still love you.
So GRD Pod has an open slot now. I was just showing up.
Nah, we're all good, bro.
I'm kidding.
That season, either way, that season was fucking mind-blowing anyways. Isaiah Thomas acting up. Okay, so we locked up the predictions. Reid, I think we got some questions from a couple people. If you could just say their name, who's asking the question, and then we'll all answer it real quick.
All right, we'll start with this one from SVO25. Who will cause the most matchup problems for the Celtics? Personally, I think it's going to be you got to point to Bam, I think. I think he's going to be – you got that one all-star big guy against really three people who you don't really know who you're going to throw at on a constant basis. Like, what matchup is going to be able to suit that? Because Bam can't really stretch the floor, but he's such a dominant under the basket big. It's kind of gonna answer a future question from one of these, but so I don't want to get too far into it. But I do think it's gonna be Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, I kind of pointed out in my little prediction that he's one of the players you have to stop. Bam is a great player. He's a great center. He's definitely going to be here for a while. He's a great player, and I think that's going to be the one matchup that really drives us crazy. Obviously, Jimmy Butler, he's good, right? But you have Brown, you have Tatum, those guys, and Smart, those guys can play him. But Bam's really the only player that Celtics don't have a definitive answer for.
I would probably have to go with Bam too, just because with Tice, he's going to out-rebound Tice and so how do you fix that? You throw in Williams, but with Williams, he's young and inexperienced, so he's just going to eat him up. And then who's left is Enes, who might not even play, and if he does, is not a liability on the defensive end, but he's not as good as one of the other two that I mentioned before. So it's really going to be hard to see how they stop him. So it's definitely pointing to Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to chirp in, and I agree 100%. But at the same time, like, it might not be about stopping Bam. It might be about just, like, exactly what we said about the first series versus Embiid. Like, let Embiid get his. Let Bam get his. Bam's going to get his, like, 20 and 15 a game, 20 and 10 a game, whatever. But at the same time, like, you got to contain Jimmy in those games that Bam has 25, 30, and then you're winning, in my opinion. Like we said earlier, Jimmy scored 37. They still lost. Like, that's what matters at the end of the day. It's team basketball, and that's the only thing that scares me about these two teams. Both of them play very well together. But we've been playing together longer, so let's go Celtics.
So this is kind of going to segue into this next one. Some of you already gave your kind of takes on this, but I didn't. How do you think Brad Stevens will change the Tice, Williams, and Cantor rotation? I think you can kind of point to how
Who asked that question? Did you ask that question, or?
That's how. Brady Merlino, 76. Last name spelled Merlino. You know who you are if you're listening. So what I think is you got points at what happened in Toronto. Like, they had that combination of Ibaka and Gasol, how they could work under the basket, but also Ibaka and Gasol could kind of stretch the floor. In Miami, you got Bam, and you're going to probably play Olynyk as the other big. Two very different play styles. Olynyk will stretch the floor. Bam will play under the basket. But I still don't see a place in this series for Cantor. I think that Williams had to stretch the floor against when he's matched up against Serge Ibaka, I do think that he did an okay job. You did see Ibaka hit a lot of straightaway threes in this series that kind of killed us, but he's going to do better than what Cantor will have to offer. So I do expect more of the same with Tyson Williams with minimal minutes from Enes Kanter, depending if they really need to throw him in there to body Bam Adebayo down low.
Yeah, I don't feel like he messes with the rotation. Brad Stevens is not a coach that really, changes rotations a lot, and if he does change it, it's not dramatically. I think he still starts Tice, but I feel like Tice's minutes go down a little bit, and they go to Enes and Rob Williams a little bit. That's what I would do. I mean, I'm not an NBA coach, so who knows? But I don't see him messing with it that much though, because this is what Brad Stevens does, and this is one of the big problems with Brad Stevens, that sometimes he doesn't change his rotations fast enough, he doesn't adapt to quick enough, and a lot of times during the season too, he doesn't do it unless there's an injury and somebody goes down and he's forced to do it. If it's against his own will, he won't do it. So I think you're mostly stuck with Tice as your starting center, and I think he still gets the majority of the minutes. Maybe a slight decrease to go to Enes and Rob Williams, and to Grant Williams too, but I still think Tice gets the majority of the minutes.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I still think Tice starts. Like you said, Jake, I think he loses some minutes and they go to Williams. Just because for the other reason too, that someone that everyone forgets about is Duncan Robinson. the man shot 45% from three this year. So if we're having a switch, we really want to have that springy athletic center on there on Duncan, just in case like anything was to happen. So I like you said, Jake, I think Tice starts, but he has decreased minutes and they go to Rob Williams. I don't think Cantor plays much or at all this series.
Real quick though, I just want to add on to your point a little bit with Duncan. I wouldn't be surprised if some point in the series, if that center position isn't really working out, if they put Grant Williams there just to run some small ball. You did see it in that Toronto series when Toronto went small, they kind of put Grant Williams in that game 7. That's something that I could definitely see happening. I mean, sorry I cut you off, GRD, but
I fucking hate you because it was not your time to talk, and you literally just said everything I was gonna say. So I should just shut the fuck up and shove this pen up my ass, bro. No, I really have a feeling like they're gonna go away from Tice and Grant Williams. Like they're literally gonna be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're going to trust Grant Williams. Whether he takes away with it, that's on him. But they really related to a lot of small ball versus Toronto, and I think they might try to do it against them to get Bam out of their rotation a little, like mess with them. I don't know how it'll work, but that Toronto series was like a defensive like chess match between both of the coaches, and it was crazy. Like, obviously, Boston won Game 7. Like, I'm happy about it, but like this series like is gonna be so many freaking things getting thrown at each other, like just like defensive changes and everything. I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen, but I'm excited. That's all I can say.
Question. We have from Josiah_Beck11. Who is the best player in this series? I'm gonna go with Jason Tatum. I think the other argument is Jimmy Butler. He's playing at another, like we said, he's playing at another level, knocking off the best player on the planet right now, even though he didn't play the last game. He's showing people why he's a franchise superstar. But Tatum, I just think that potential is there at such a young age. He's shown it, and we can see that maybe even, like I said, this young at 22, he's able to lead a team to maybe a finals appearance. He's played to that level all series long. But I do expect a big series from him, and he's going to prove why he is a franchise superstar in this league that can realistically lead a team to banner 18.
I think hands down it's Jason Tatum. I mean, obviously Jimmy Butler, he's there, he's kind of right there, but I still see Jimmy Butler as a guy that needs a lot of pieces around him to succeed. I feel like you could take, like when I think of like the franchise superstars, I think of the guy that you could just throw there. And we've seen with Jimmy Butler that he hasn't had the best success as a number one option. We saw in Minnesota, Chicago, and then Philadelphia, you could say he kind of was like a number one, 1A, 1B option. And Miami, he's been great, but I mean, there's a lot of other teams that kind of disprove that. So I got to go with Tatum because I feel like you could put Tatum on any team and they'd be better, and they'd be good with him. So I'm going to go Tatum hands down here.
Yeah, it's really a toss-up. You could say either Jimmy Butler or Tatum, really. I'll go with Tatum, but you got to look at that Milwaukee series. When Giannis was in, Jimmy Butler putting up 40 points one game, 30 points another against a really good team. So Jimmy Butler is definitely, like you said, Jake, like a really good player. Is he the best number one option? Maybe not. They got a lot of young shooters on that team with Hero and Duncan Robinson. And like Reid said earlier, Jay Crowder is shooting the lights out right now. So I'm going to give it with Tatum. He'll have a bounce back series. Last series was kind of for him. So this one will be a lot better, and he'll lead us to the finals this year.
So just because you guys all said Tatum, I'm actually going to weave off of that, and I won't say Jimmy Butler either because I already trashed him, and I said that when he plays the Celtics, he folds into something else. Kemba Walker is going to be the best player in this series, and Kemba Walker is going to drop 40 points at some point in the series, and he's going to win Boston over. Like, he's the big free agent acquisition last summer, like, I feel like he still hasn't, like, taken a game over fully, like, and shown us, like, Kemba Walker. Like, he's had some crazy-ass daggers at some crazy-ass moments, and, like, it's just driven me crazy. But he's been robbed of number one. He's been robbed of his first postseason in Boston. He doesn't know what it's like to be, like, in Boston for a playoff game. Like, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, he's literally like a leader, whether he's doing it on the court. Last series, he wasn't really, in my opinion. he was still doing it in the locker room. He's still he's the loudest guy out there. Like, he knows he was getting locked down by Lowry and everything. I feel like this series he's going to take care of fucking Miami, and he's going to introduce himself to Boston.
Yeah. I mean, like we still talk about the bubble, like the only Kemba that the Heat saw this bubble was missed on the minutes restriction. Like, he's playing with a bad knee. But Miami doesn't have that playing scheme to combat and neutralize Walker like Toronto did with Van Vliet and Lowry. They're not going to throw a box and one at him. They're going to have like 34-year-old, however old he is, Goran Dragic guard him, or like Kendrick Nunn. Yeah, and
Dragic has been having a pretty good bubble.
Defensively?
No, not defensively, like just offensively, excuse me.
Yeah.
Never defensively.
You got 2 all-elite defensive guards in Lowry and Van Vliet last year. Now you're transitioning to 2 lackluster, league average at best guards on him, and he's very quick and can get to the rim at ease. So I do expect Cardiac Kemba to come out this series, like you said. So I don't hate that. I'll wrap up with this last one from Jaden.likes.raptors. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, because we sent them packing last week. So, Jaden, I'm sorry.
He's following us.
Yeah, thanks for the follow and thanks for contributing. How do you think the Celtics can adjust to the Miami offense, especially with Bam? We kind of talked about Bam earlier, but I'm gonna talk about this instead. You got to contest the shooters. There's just too many weapons outside that can kill us in an instant. You got, like we said, Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kelly Olynyk, even Jay Crowder. Like, we didn't think we'd ever be worried about Crowder and Olynyk against us, but at this point of their careers, but we're not worried, like you said. I saw you shaking your head, but there's a little concern there. There's a little concern. But you can't let them get hot. It's switching on picks. You got to get right in their face. You got to trust the help defense. A lot of help and recover on defense this series. It's just playing up to that defense like we had last series, and kicking inside next gear on the offensive end to put them over.
Yeah, I kind of agree with like pretty much everything you said there. I mean, I mentioned a lot during my prediction that they need to limit Bam at least, if not try and stop him. Obviously, you can't stop him, but limiting him would be the ideal situation. But I think if it comes down, if the way you're limiting him is leaving shooters open, then just let him get his 20 and 10, because he's not going to beat you. Like, yes, he'll have those big dominant games, but the way he beats teams is that he gets in the post and everyone goes to him, and then he kicks it out to those shooters, and that's something that really kills teams. So if limiting him means that you have to take guys off the shooter, then you can't do that. You know, just let him go to the post and let him go to work, because, you know, Bam isn't one of those centers that's going to put up 40 and 50 on you. You know, he's not going to beat you. He's going to be a big role if he beats you, but he's not going to single-handedly beat you like a Joel Embiid could. So that's why I'm going to say, like, try and limit him as best you can, but the shooting I think is a more important factor that you got to worry about.
So, for adjusting to the Miami offense, is that me?
Yeah. Like, how you gonna Miami's attack? Like, how you gonna combat that?
Does that sound bad for you guys too?
I don't know what happened. I think we're having some audio issues.
Is it better now?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay, I don't know what that was, but you guys kind of took it on a more defensive approach. I'm gonna go with the offense. I think if you look at the Celtics like pace per game, their pace is considerably lower than the league average. So with that, there were a couple of points last series against Toronto when we were up like 12 in Game 7, where I was sitting there going, just run it down their throat, like get it up to 20 and put this thing away. So with that, if you look at the series, I mean, there's multiple times every game where they're just barely getting over and avoiding an 8-second call. We're getting over like 17 seconds left, not really doing anything with the ball until there's like 7 seconds left. So really, I think instead of playing harder defense and tiring yourself out, if you play more offense and can kind of put up as many points as the Heat will, then you'll keep up with them and it'll be just as good as playing a lot of defense.
Well, that's all well and good, but the question was a defensive question.
It says, how can you adjust to the offense?
Exactly. To Miami's offense.
He took it how he wants it. Let the guy
I'll wrap this up because I have to take a piss so bad.
The best defense is a good offense.
The Celtics, to win this series, they need to score more points than the Miami Heat.
Are you sure?
That's a Caden Bodak take right there.
I love you.
We owe you. It's like GRD needs to go to the little boys' room. It looks like. But guys, thank you for watching this episode of the GRD podcast.
Go buy your merch.
Yeah, go buy your merch. You got the GRD merch. Do we look worried? GRD signature quote. You can get that at bossesbig3.com. And, while you're over there, take a look at the other podcasts that we got. We got a bunch of content coming at you guys. And, just keep an eye on the pages. We got highlights coming for Patriots, Celtics, all the big sports coming off right now. So if you guys aren't watching games for some reason and you can get them on Instagram, make sure you guys check out all the highlights that we have going on. Until then, we'll see you guys next time when we break down game 1. And hopefully it's a Celtics win. We'll see you guys next week.